My name is Emily Francisco, and I'm an artist based in Washington, D.C. I grew up in the Midwest and I went to school in St. Louis, kind of all over the map. I was born in Honolulu, grew up in the Midwest, and now I'm based here in Washington, D.C. And I didn't grow up with contemporary art, so I didn't really think that I would grow up to be an artist. I was very involved in theater and music until I ended up going to art school in undergrad as sort of an unexpected path. From the moment I arrived there, I wanted to study sculpture, but my professors wanted me to study performance art, and I was really trying to avoid being sort of the central focus. And so what ended up happening was that I started making objects that performed in my place. My work largely deals with the physical and metaphorical weight that objects carry and processing those objects into something beyond their original intent. Typically, that results in work that requires the viewer to be present and engaging in the moment. Work that requires activation. So work that's pretty much incomplete until the viewer is present. I started making the work that I make now largely because I was interested in sculpture and I was interested in performance, but I did not want to be performing. I basically felt like I needed to create objects that could perform in my place. And it was also largely coming from dealing with chronic illness. So I was very attracted to the idea of creating objects that could perform in my place. And so basically, these objects in many ways started out as stand-ins for myself. The objects that I source for my projects come through various different means. Some objects are donated, some I find in thrift stores. Some people contact me with very specific requests. The most specific request being a grand piano that, outside of having a dried out soundboard, was in very good condition. And that was something that I dismantled publicly. It belonged to a widow. It had belonged to her husband, and that was something that I dismantled as part of a public performance. So it's really a case-by-case basis, and the way I deal with each object is different. And so I source the materials differently, and then I approach all of the materials differently, and everything is treated with care. So I'm not interested in destroying anything, but I'm interested in repurposing and carefully processing everything that comes into my studio. So currently I am working on an archive of fragmented time. And so this is something that started as a sculpture that just kept growing. So it's a sculpture that plays live radio transmissions tuned within a system. So it's a site-specific sculpture. And what I realized with this piece is that every time it's installed and every time it's played, it creates something different. And I realized that with that, it can create portraits of people in places at different times. And so what I'm trying to do now is send this piece to different cities so I can capture recordings to create basically sound portraits of these different cities. And